Hello from the Aware Wildlife Center. I am Scott Lang. This is Sammy Netherton, one of our wildlife care supervisors, and Nan Kemberling, one of our volunteers, and my wife is behind the camera. We wanted to make a video for Groundhog Day showing off our newest ambassador, Diggy Stardust, named after the David Bowie song, and let you see what a real groundhog looks like and share some fun facts about their existence. So I wanted to start off by reading a list of alternate names for groundhogs. You may know that a woodchuck and a groundhog are the exact same thing, just two different names for the same animal. And some other names for groundhogs include chuck, woodshock, ground pig, whistle pig, whistler, sifflu, thickwood badger, Canada marmot, monax, moonack, weenusk, red monk, and land beaver. So now you know. Sammy, why don't you tell us where Diggy came from and what his story is?
So Diggy was found with a neurological injury, and he was brought to us by a member of the public, and we treated with anti-inflammatories and eventually decided that he was not improving well enough to be released to the wild. We suspect that he got poisoned from eating grass that had pesticides in it, and so, you know, something to keep in mind when you are putting pesticides out, putting out cruelty-free pesticides are going to be the best bet, because what happens is whenever we put any sort of poison into the environment, it trickles through the entire ecosystem. If you put rat poison out, yes, you might get rid of your rat problem, but that can still poison other animals that eat the rats, like our larger predators like hawks and owls. So unfortunately with Diggy, the damage was already done by the time he came to us, and so he is living out his life with us.
Let him not go too far and stay near the camera. So grasses make up part of their diet. What other kinds of things do they eat?
So typically in the wild, groundhogs are going to eat a variety of vegetation. They're herbivores, and so they'll mostly eat vegetation, some grubs and insects, as well as chewing on tree bark. And so to try to supplement that in captivity with Diggy, what we feed him is a variety of fruits and veggies, as well as we give him a stick with some nice bark on it every day. And then he also gets a rodent diet that has rodent blocks and things like that in it, so that he can chew on that, which helps with his teeth.
And so they are really good diggers, I guess. That's his name is Diggy, and of course they're known for that. How does that behavior play out in the wild?
So in the wild, typically what they do is they use their legs, and you can see he's got these claws on his feet, and they'll dig. You
might come down and get a little close up of his claws here.
Yeah. Turn you around. You want to turn this way? I know, Bubba. You can see what he does is he uses his claws to dig really deep burrows into the ground with multiple entrances. And what's interesting is other animals will actually make use of these burrows, like skunks and other digging animals like that. They'll see a groundhog burrow, and if they realize there's no groundhog in there, they'll go and start using it.
Yeah, so they're habitat engineers, I guess is a term that I've seen used.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I know a lot of times, or at least sometimes, people will run into issues where they're worried about a groundhog digging up their garden or going after their plants. You know, of course, our mission here is to teach folks to peacefully coexist with wildlife. So the advice we give in those situations is, you know, first of all, just live with it if you can. You know, it's kind of cool to have a groundhog, cool animal in your yard. If there's really no other way, then you can use deterrents, like things that cause motion, like a pinwheel is a distraction. Noisemakers can be a distraction. But, you know, escalating to the level of relocating or, God forbid, hurting the animal is really not necessary and counterproductive and bad for all those other animals that need a place to live too. So we hope folks don't do that. What about their young? Like, what's their life cycle? How long do they live? When are they born? How does that go?
Yeah, so with groundhogs, typically they are going to have a gestation period of about 32 days. And you'll see them having babies typically late March through the end of May. And then they'll have about 2 to 7 offspring at a time, which baby groundhogs are very cute. Definitely recommend checking those guys out. And usually there's going to be parental care for about 3 months, and then the babies reach sexual maturity and go off on their own to start digging their own burrows and foraging for food and things like that.
It's interesting. They're very social animals, and they form real bonds with their young, but they're also not as, you know, sort of monogamous and not as stable in relationships as some other animals, like especially our raptors, that form these like lifelong bonds between, you know, 2 owls or 2 hawks.
Yeah.
Let's see. Their range, they live mainly in Canada and the eastern U.S. As far south as basically the Atlanta area and not much further. So we're right on the southern edge of their range here. What other facts about groundhogs?
How big do they get?
Is a great question. They can be, what, about 4 pounds at a minimum, up to 14 pounds? Am I remembering that right?
Yes. And typically we weigh our animals here in kilograms, and so they can get up to 6 kilograms in weight.
And he's right now, how many kilograms?
He's about 3.6 kilograms right now. And he's been on the higher end, more towards 4 kilograms since he's been with us.
So it's like 8 or 9 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
What about their teeth? Those look pretty gnarly.
That is a great question. So groundhogs are rodents, and so that means their teeth never stop growing. And so we have to monitor his teeth while he's with us to make sure they don't grow too long, because then he's going to have other issues like not being able to eat properly, as well as some just dental issues in general from that. And so it's really important to check his teeth, and also know that groundhog bites can hurt. So you don't want to stick your hands in their face, near their mouth, because that can cause a lot of damage. Typically in the wild, they'll file them down by eating different things, like we talked about how they chew on tree bark. And so to supplement that in captivity, we give Diggy a stick with really nice bark on it so he can chew on that and make sure that he does not overgrow his teeth.
Anything else we wanted to cover?
What about the holiday? Like,
yeah, so we are putting this video out on Groundhog Day, and we wanted to basically talk about the science facts and the real life of groundhogs. You know, it's not the Real Housewives, real groundhogs, a little different. But basically get real about them. The holiday, of course, is a fun thing, and the myth is that if a groundhog emerges from its burrow on February 2nd and sees its shadow, that means there'll be 6 more weeks of winter, and if it doesn't, then it's spring. That emerged from a Christian holiday, mainly a Catholic holiday called Candlemas, and the tradition in Germany was basically the same as our tradition, except it was a badger instead of a groundhog, and it was 4 weeks instead of 6 weeks. And gradually over the years, in the 1800s, in Pennsylvania, they sort of adapted the tradition to be, you know, groundhogs in 6 weeks, and it took off ever since. Of course, we love the movie Groundhog Day, one of my personal favorites. We'll see if Bill Murray drops by to meet Diggy at some point. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be so cool.
But yeah, just keep these guys in mind on Groundhog Day when you're enjoying the holiday or watching the movie, that they are real animals. They do live here in Atlanta with us and share our environment, and we want to try to coexist with them as much as possible. So thank you so much for watching. Come by and see Diggy and our other ambassadors if you get the chance. We have free tours every Saturday and Sunday at 1. And I think that's it. Anything else?
No, I think that's all.
thank you guys. That was so informative.
Thank you.